we'll get, we got to give Mick permission.
I didn't
So
think they
it
made
is-
hooks that big anymore. I thought that went away with the Civil War.
Yeah, maybe. But you can still find them, or you still, you can still find them 4 or 6. You can go all the way down on this one, but if you're going to go down on this, you might as well switch patterns. So that's one of the things too, is that would be where I would go to Lost Link, or maybe a double wing caddis, where you're doing the deer hair, and I'll kind of show the process on this too. It's open for modification. You're going to see that I've modified it from what's in the book. And then I found a couple different things that were easier for me, just from a standpoint of, tying. And this one does have a lot of, let's see, am I good on camera?
You're good.
Okay. So I've got a big hook in, right? I've got a number 4, and this is a streamer hook. Mainly because you'll see by the time you add all this in without any foam, again, it has a lot of buoyancy to it by the way you're building this. If you can find a dry fly this big, great, use it, because it's going to be a little bit more narrow, obviously lightweight on that. And yeah, use it if you can. But I have several. So I'll bring up the board here, and this is a fly we're tying tonight. And I put the green legs on here just to exaggerate it. So I have a little bit of pheasant in the back. I have calf tail, I have deer, and then I spun more deer on the top part and added in legs. So for all of you who have had the patience of being on so many of these calls, yeah, this looks pretty similar to what I like to tie, right? As far as a caddis. The other thing is that when you turn this over, this is what happens. So you can see where the dubbing shows through on the bottom, and you can see the legs come out. They're nice and evenly laying out in there. And oh, there we got Devin joining us. Yay. I'm going to go ahead and pin mine, I think. Or do I do that, or do you do that, Mick? Sorry.
Oops, sorry, I was muted. You could pin yourself so you could see, but the pin
There you go.
recording is already got.
Okay. And so here's another example too, and it has more legs on it, but again, that same, so you've got deer hair, you got calf tail, and I've got a little bit of pheasant. I've also got all the dubbing underneath. I don't add any hackle in like we would on a caddis. And what happens is, again, think of the profile and the shadow this makes. As this hits the water, that's a big bug coming down. And
Put a little lower,
sure.
Amy.
There you go.
There you go. Okay. And so, yeah, and you can see again, I'll turn it over. There's the dubbing. And so it's a clean profile. It sits. Here's the top view. So you can see on that as far as with the legs and that action. Here's another one. Again, so kind of like a skater, maybe. I think that's what we kind of call them in this area. But you can see with the shape of it too. If this submerges some, or if it gets hit a lot, and so then you would go back and you would add in your gink or floating to it. But for the most part, I can fish this a lot of times, and it will not, it won't start to drop under subsurface. So you can kind of see again, I've added a few things on here. We'll get started on this. I decided to go ahead and make it the full gamut. So I'll talk about dubbing. I'm going to talk about mixing dubbing as well. I've got, again, a huge shank on here. I am using on this one, imagine that I've got black thread, and let's see, here we go. I've got black thread on this, and I know I've got to spin some hair at the beginning part of it. You can use a Beavis, and it's kind of a preference. Get used to what you're using, and you're going for thread to break strength, because when I get up to the front and I want to spin that, I don't want to get all the way to that spin and then have my thread break in there. But I'm going to just go in, I'm going to start and just lay the thread down. And this is open. I'm not touching or anything as far as with my wraps on there, because I'm going to be covering the primary portion of that. So I put in the information as far as materials and things. So pheasant, we've all seen this. We use it for Royal Coachman. We use it for a lot of different with your pheasant tips, and then Amherst. And somehow, and you guys can all tell me later, how do you lose a whole head of Amherst? I don't know, but I've torn my fly room apart 3 different times. So Amherst is a white version. Beautiful colors, really translucent, has a lot of peacock colors to it. But I'm going to use Amherst on this, so it shows up. And I'm just going to grab it straight from the quill here. Kind of line up my black tips so that it comes off the end. I don't need a whole big, I'm not going to go all the way off the end of this. I just want a little bit coming off the tail, and come in, pinch wrap first to get it secured. And again, the nice part about tying some of these larger flies is you don't have to worry so much about the under as far as the hook shank and those tight thread wraps, because you're going to be able to cover that a little bit. And normally with a lot of my dry flies, I do come up underneath the tail, and then I'm going to lock that in a little bit because I don't want it going down. That's not the purpose of this. Again, once these kind of get wet and the profile that they do, so I just do 1 tuck underneath, keeps it up, keeps it just kind of where I want it as far as positioning in that. And now the next part of it, I'm going to lay in some dubbing. And I was kind of messing around a little bit too with, you guys have all seen my habits as far as mixing dubbing and a lot of different parts of that too. So if you have the opportunity to hijack your coffee bean grinder, do that. Don't ever try to use it again, then you won't get away with it because it has a bunch of other stuff in it. Let me unplug this for a second. And this is a great way to mix different fibers. So it's just a standard coffee grinder. I don't have it plugged in to make the cool noise. And what you can do is just throw in several different components of your dubbing, plug it back in, and then push the button, and it will basically spin it for you. And so it does kind of give a little bit air to it, almost like a cotton candy thing. But it will, watch your blades, they are sharp, but don't try to take it back upstairs or wherever and make coffee out of it. It is a way to give you a little bit more. So here I have everything from snowshoe foot all the way through a little bit of Antron. I have some UV in here, a lot of different things, right? And it's a really light, easy to work with. Where we see out of the pack or out of our containers, and you pull them, and then you constantly have to do that, where I always say it's kind of like silly putty, where you're constantly having to work that. That's a great way as far as if you have access to it. What I'm going to do with this whole big wad is we're going to create a dubbing loop. So I'm right here kind of at the hook point. That's my start and stop. And then I also want some other visuals as I go up. So I'm going to be stopping at about 1/4 of a way into the hook shank. And with this part, with your dubbing loop, pulling it out, I make a loop with my finger, and I'm going to go back up to where I started, and then just kind of fast forward all the way up. Very similar to what I was doing before. And we had a conversation about, using your rotary vise, don't use your rotary vise, whatever you want to do, you can either way. Your dubbing wax, so you can use chapstick, you can use a dubbing wax. I prefer on this. When you're teaching this, please tell people if they touch the thread, it's on, right? They just have to go back and forth and your dubbing wax is on. If you have students who then go, is it really there? They're going to have a lot of dubbing on their fingertips. Just trust, if they've touched it, it's there. You don't need to go back and double check on your own thread. So the cool part with this is I obviously don't need this much. And I'm going to take kind of a half of a portion of that, and I'm going to pull it out, because the fibers from between either blending it in your fingers or putting in your coffee maker, the blenders are it's going to make it want to stay together, and you can kind of continue to work it out. and you can make a fairly long, and it's all still connected. I'm going to take that, I'm going to lay it within that loop, and don't worry about the excess on this part on either side of it. Doesn't matter. If you want to add in more, it's good. Just lock it in your finger and you can kind of go back, drop in some more on this. And whatever your version is for spinning hackle, I've talked about, I use a turbo on this because I can come in, I can hook one side of thread, I can hook the other side of thread, I can move my finger out of the way, and now I can spin that. And what I'm doing with this is it's creating the pipe cleaner. So it puts it all in place, can go as tight. If you continue to wrap this and it's too tight, and you'll figure it out, it will break, right? It's just going to stop. This turbo, it has a bearing in here. If I start going too much and the tension on it, it'll want to reverse on there. So just keep your finger on, but spin and just grab it again. Come in now with your hackle pliers. Got to clean those because I was just already tying a fly earlier. Come in and I'm just going to pinch on, and now I'm going to hold everything. Going to come in and I'm going to cut between the tool and my hackle pliers. This part with your rotary vise, if you have a thread attachment and you can move that out of the way, great. If not, it's a little bit, it appears clunky on this. I actually, after I think one of our calls, and I was like, I can still do a rotary. So I did my rotary. Your rotary, all right, and there it goes and knocks the camera. So we're not doing rotary tonight, but you just wrap through. And again, very exaggerated, very buggy. I don't need to brush it out. And I'm going to come up again, and I've kind of got that quarter point in mind. So I've broken the hook shank into 4 parts. I'm going to come up here. I'm going to come back in, and I'm going to do my finishing. So I'm going to come up underneath the dubbing loop, come up again, go in front, come up one more time. And then I'm going to lift this above. Practice perfect. So come up above. If I cut down below and I can't see, or I've lost my vision on that part of it, you're going to cut your thread and then you're just going to be mad. So come up above, lift it, and cut your materials ahead. So I've started that part of it. Pretty buggy underneath again. And now we're going to go into calf tail. And I will call out, because Walt, the one time when I was talking and I said calf tail, and I swear he and his wife were going to call PETA on me because they thought I said cat tail. I'm not using cat tail. I'm using calf tail, and it comes in a variety of different, as far as it'll say calf tail or it'll say kip tail. Yep, that's what it is. And so with this part of it, so here's a new container. Here's one that I've used obviously quite a bit. The tip is virtually useless because what you're going to run into is all these cowlicks, and it's not easy. And if I were to come back and I want to be cheap and I don't want to use anymore, I've got a cowlick to it as far as the spin on that. And what'll happen is it's going to give an error. It's going to pull one way or another. It's not, so you won't use the tip portion of it. Typically what you want to go down and look for, and you're kind of going for no cowlicks. It's straight. It's coming out nice. Again, look at what you're looking at when you're buying it. You really can't go wrong. You're going to get your $5 out of it for your calf tail. And so what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to come in and I'm working down this so that I get the most out of the money. I'm not going to go in and just start cutting clumps out of the middle. This is all stripped from flies that I've done. That's why it looks crazy like this. But I'm going to come in and I'm just going to pinch a section. And this is trial and error, because what happens is when you pinch off this much, that is not how much you're going to end up using. Calf tail is one of the more difficult products, I think, that we use. So I've got a pinch, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to try to help marry some of these, meaning that I don't want just that little bit. and I don't want this big fat end to tie in. So I'm going to come through and kind of grab some of those, try to take them up to the tip. And after that, I'm calling done. Okay, so I've got enough. And what this is, again, for more buoyancy in it, as we talk about different threads too, your thread has a left and a right to it. And when you say clockwise and then you're working with left-handers, yeah, don't do that. But it will spin. And so with your thread, you see a lot of tires do this. You're like, why are they sprinting? You know, is it a nervous tick? It's not. Your thread can bind up tighter. And so as I have my calf tail in here, and if I come back over and I've spun my thread in the wrong direction, look how this wants to jump and go forward. Okay, that's not where I want it. So what I want to do is I'm going to spin my thread the opposite direction, because what I want is it to go back towards the hook end. And you can do this a lot. And if we weren't on camera, again, you just get used to doing some of this as far as spinning. So I've spun it a lot. Now I come up and look at how that comes back to the back. That's one of the key things as far as with spinning your thread. You don't have to know what denier it is. You don't have to know how many, you know, pieces it has or anything. It's just a matter of which way. And depending on, again, if you're left-handed or right-handed, if I go the wrong direction, it's going to try to jump forward, meaning it's taking my wraps and not grabbing everything. Here, I'm going to come in. Do that one more time. I'm going to come in and I'm going to grab this and I'm going to give it a pinch wrap. I went too fast on that. So come in, give it a pinch wrap to position it, secure it down, and then I'm going to move back. And that's your underwing right there. On this portion of it too, because calf tail is kind of tricky. If I were holding it from here, I would have lost all that rest. So as you're doing this, now you would come in and you're going to clean up a little bit. So you can just cut this, cut it in, and tie it down in here. Any new tires, go ahead and put a half hitch in here if you want to, because we're going to keep building on this. And it's something where if you're all of a sudden going, well, what if I get further out on that and your thread breaks or anything else, put a half hitch in, just hold it in place. So I've got the back on the pheasant, I've got the dubbing underneath, I've got the calf tail here. And now I'm going to move over to deer hair. And one of the big differences between with what is in the fly tying Bible, because you put in your deer hair, you spin it, and then you add your legs. And I find that's a very complicated way to teach this. And so what I've done, and I haven't seen any fish difference as far as I still have the equal amount of takes on this, but we need to add in a secondary wing on the back, add in legs, and then also the head to finish it. So we've talked about deer hair a lot as far as with Primo. One of the things too, as far as with how you label it. So you take it out of the package, you're storing it in a container, and oh my gosh, what is that? Is it moose? Is it deer? Is it what? I label everything. That's what black Sharpies are for. And it makes it a lot easier. You always start from the bottom and then you work your way up as you're going to this. So you're not going to come and pull it from the top. If you're laying out a strip of Primo in a class and all of a sudden you pick it back up and it looks like somebody chewed on it because people were taking middle ones. Yeah, maybe give a little bit of instruction, start at the bottom and then work your way up, and it'll be much easier to work with your deer on this portion of it too. And again, I'm creating a wing. So I'm going to come in and, we've had multiple conversations. What size pencil did you use in school and all that other stuff? I don't know. Grab a chunk, right? Because the only way you're going to figure out what is comfortable for you on fly tying is try it over and over and over again. So I cut off a chunk on this. I'm going to pinch it in my fingers. And the first thing I'm going to do is fan this out. And I'm going to pull out any under hair. And this is one that I have brushed multiple times. So you'll see it doesn't have a lot of under fur to it. And I'm going to grab my stacker, and we talked about this, I think, before the holiday too. So your stacker, static on your hands is good. Static on your comb to clear out this stuff is great. Static inside your stacker is not fun. Take an old dryer sheet and kind of rub it in the channel in there, and then I'll cut down some of the stacker, static. And so you can see it's in the stacker here. I'm going to set that aside because I'm going to show you the difference here on one that hasn't been brushed out very often. It hasn't. You can see I have, a couple flies out of it. The under fur, and what this is all this, and it has no purpose in what we're tying tonight. I don't want it. If I were taking a stack of this, then there's a couple different things. Your favorite pet store, you can come in and treat it, just grab those off of it. And you can see again, the Primo that I go to, because I've done that a number of times, come in first and grab this, and it'll cut down your frustration of all that extra lint-ish stuff, right? So time of year it's harvested has a lot to do with that. Again, I'm going to come in. I don't know. I don't measure it. Come in, I'm cutting as close as I can to the hide portion, and same process on this. I'm going to fan it out. You can see some of that fur coming out on there, but I'm actually going to need to do a little bit more process on it as to smaller brushes. Here's one that, again, you can see it's a golf cleaning brush, I think. There's different combs you can use, and little combs like this. I don't want that under fur in it. The problem is, if you started out with a little chunk, you're going to go down to a very, very tiny little chunk because it keeps clearing out the stuff that you don't want to use. So if I were using that, then again, I would drop that now into my stacker. It is fairly clean. You can keep rolling in your fingers, and as you roll it in your fingers, it's going to help expose more that needs to come out. This is the part where, again, static on your fingers is not a bad thing because you're helping some of it grab your fingers. Lay that out of the side because I don't need it. So the stacker is obnoxious. If your kids are sleeping, probably don't want to be tying flies at 1 o'clock in the morning. People will come and ask what's happening. So with the stacker, it has two pieces, as your top channel and then the bottom. And this tube, you need to lay it parallel, come in, and all my tips are just where I want them. So I'm going to come in and grab it with my thumb, kind of position this. I try not to move this around a lot, but on this fly in particular, you will. The big thing is you just don't want a whole lot of errant ones coming out. If not, stop what you're doing, put it back in the stacker. And because, having one that's like way out there, or, 14 of them that are way out there, you just want to redo it correctly. I tie this very similar to what I do with a caddis. So I'm going to measure out as far as my wing where I want this. I want it to come out over the calf tail, exaggerated. I'm going to come in. And on this part, I roll my fingertips forward to where they are, and I tie this and I cut it exactly like what I do for caddis, because I don't want that part of the head. And I'll show you the difference as far as how the other one was spinning it in and then trying to tie in your legs. So I cut it right here. And we talked about spinning the thread again. Again, if I'm jumping and going forward, I'm almost going to miss all of them. So I want to make sure that my thread positioning, I'm going to come in, I'm going to bind that tight. See that beautiful, just dandelion, right? Comes right off the top. And I'm just going to rip right on through that. Okay, so I've got a lot of anchor ones in here. It's with a lot of tension. I'm holding this really, really tight right here. On that, there's my wing. And you can see how it flared. I can come in now. I can kind of position. I want that really over the top. I want it to fan out even more. But I leave this portion of it very similar, and that's how I do a caddis as well. I don't mess with the head at all. I cut it before I tie it in. So now I've got this portion, and from a starter standpoint on this, this is how I would do it. Before you start into spinning or doing anything else with that, I would start with just trying to make that wing the way you want it to, as opposed to having all of these, because otherwise you're going to get all the butt ends are right here in everything you're trying to do. Great if you can figure out a way to separate those. But from ease, as far as just trying to tie this in this positioning. So we go to legs now, because, and this is a key part that I think has a lot to do with this fly in particular. Legs come in every different variety, and there's a couple different. I've used a lot of times. You guys have seen me on the yellow Sallies, so I use these. It's a very small. It's a micro leg. It's almost more on the flat, but it's not a flat streamer leg that we might use on something else like this. So they come in this whole big strip, and they come out, and they're all these little, whoever invented this is a bazillionaire. But they come out and they have all these different colors on there. This is fairly small in proportion to the fly that I'm tying. So I picked this green one tonight. Usually I use white or white and black, and you can see the difference on the diameter of this versus what I might tie on a different dry fly, very similar pattern, but different. I want this to look as big and ugly as I can. And so I'm going to use more of this rounded, and you can see it is clearly rounded as far as a tube. So they come pinched in this. I don't recommend coming in and cutting them, because you're going to get frustrated with that. If you just gently pull, it'll separate itself all the way out. Don't yank on it, but just gently pull. And what it'll do is it keeps the whole leg together as one, and you've still got your whole connection there. So you don't end up with like 6,000 legs that then you have to figure out where they are. So that's a way to keep your materials kind of clear on that. For putting in a leg at this point, I'm going to come up, and I'm between you and my thread, and I'm just going to come in and loop, and I'm going to take this in right at a 45-degree angle to me. And on that, a lot of times with these rounded ones, they'll actually start laying out almost the way you want them. You don't have to do a whole lot. I've got a little bit going up at that 45. I've got a little bit coming back at this 45. Don't have to do a whole lot as far as even anchoring it. As you get more confident in different things too, you can go ahead and cut that. And I'm going to do exactly the same, but I'm going to come up over the top. I'm going to wrap that leg around, and I'm going to pull that in on the 45. So that's on your side. If you're using a flat version thread or a flat version leg, you might need to give it a little bit of a bump to help keep it in the angle on that. But the rounded legs really do just kind of go into shape. I only did 2 wraps. I did one to wrap the first one. I did one to wrap the second one. Now I'm going to move all that out of the way, and I can come right in here. All the legs are good. Everything's in place right now. We have talked about clips and springs and how to hold stuff back and everything else. And the best invention out there is just one really good straw. Because right now, to tie in and spin the rest of that deer hair on here, it's going to get in my way. It's going to frustrate me. It's going to get tied into something that I don't want it to. So the next time you guys are at Quick Trip or Mobile on the Run or wherever you are, grab one of their extra straws, and they come, obviously you'll have enough for almost a lifetime. And then take the straw and cut just down one of the centers of that. And what I'm going to do, because if I try to clip this, so I have the clips, dollar store, we talked about that again, it's not going to clip anywhere, right? It's going to keep jumping on me, and it's just going to get in the way. So instead, I'm going to save that to the back. I'm going to take this little bit of straw here. And again, I've already cut that. It's pretty rigid. And guess what? Everybody's going to take a nap. Okay, out of the way. Now I can focus on that last little bit, which is going to be just spinning that head out. Again, if you look at the book in here, they spin all that deer hair, then go back and add in the same legs. Try it a couple different ways, see what you like. But on this portion of it, I found this works for me. And I'm gonna go ahead and grab that other portion that, no, I won't. I'll go to a different one. Let's go ahead and grab another section of deer hair on here. The nice part with creating a head on it, you don't have to go in and stack it. I do still think, follow your same practices across the board. Spin in your fingers, clear out all the head, all the under hair on this, but you don't have to go in a stacker. If you're already set that you do a stacker, great, do a stacker, doesn't matter. But it's more of a process in that portion of it. Again, all of the points come out. I'm not necessarily creating a second wing, but I'll show you how we can do that. So I've got kind of the measurement in here. Again, same thing. I've kind of measured it by eyeball, and I can come in and cut. If I'm spinning this, I'm actually just going for the center point on this. So I'm going to come up over, and with my thread, again, pay attention to what you're using. And this is where denier comes in place and everything, but you're going to come up. I'm going to create that puff, right? The next one that I go through is now where I hold that and it spins, and see how that spun around. So it's not even 2 full wraps. I come in and you just go straight through the middle. You don't even matter of, oh, did that fiber get stuck? Did it not get stuck? Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. You're not going to catch anything because it makes almost that perfect dandelion look. On this part too, pull out your tool. If you're using an empty ball peen point, whatever it is, but we just want to get stuff clear back because I want to see what's happening here. So we've talked about how to protect your fingers on here. With Jim's handy tip, go steal your wife's earring backs. A couple different things, but just go ahead and pull that back, and you're going to wind in, and then we're going to finish this out. And you can do a whip finish on this. If you're doing a half hitch on that, give it a little bit more power to it. Half hitch, in my experience, is not going to hold this fly together. And so that's where you come in and just do a whip finish. If you need to, at this point, even, again, getting things out of your way, right? So you can come in with even another straw, go back over the top. You'll be amazed how many times you look at a straw now and go, oh, that was kind of cool. Sorry, my thread just spooled on me, of course, because I'm on camera. Come in, and I'm coming in clear on that. And now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do my whip finish, because in my opinion, I believe in this. Come in, drop it off. And I've got a couple of, and you're cinching it in. Again, try to imagine that knot is going as close as you can to your hook shank. Gives it a little bit more strength. Now I can come back through, and on this portion of it, I can take all these straws off. Now I can come back because it's all created, and now I can start cutting in the shape of it. Watch where your legs are, otherwise you will end up with a leg on the floor. But you do want to come in and now clean it up. And just like we've said before, as far as look at your fly all over, turn it in your vise. Go ahead, and again, I want that flat profile. So that's where I'm going to come in, and I'm going to clean cut just straight in there on flat. Then I'm going to come back in and kind of give it a little bit of a profile that I prefer. Watch your legs again. Take it out of your vise if you need to. If you need to go in and your method is holding in your hand, obviously the legs are not where I need them now. Now is when you would go in and you're going to start cutting those back and making them equal, kind of reposition. And then again, come back in, clear on the head on that. So anybody have any questions on this one?
Yes, Amy, you would not necessarily use a razor blade then?
Not on this with the legs, because you're going to lose a leg in here. So one of the things I would say is that's why I preferred when I've done the other styles too. And again, I fished many different on this pattern. And to me, I thought, lay in your wing, get it the way you want, then come back and add your head. It seemed to be a little bit more user friendly, because otherwise, you've got that whole big fluff that you're working around, and you're trying to also then work around your legs. This to me seemed the easiest, most productive as far as, coming in and being able to clean it up. I can move these legs out of the way more easily as opposed to with a razor blade on that. So, oh, sorry, I'm switch cameras. I'm looking down in my fly. Yeah, I wouldn't use it. I mean, you can, but on this part, so I can come in, I can pull the legs out of the way on this, and I can come in and kind of clean up the head on this. As you notice, this is a bigger hook on here. It does have the barb on here. I didn't flatten that. And again, working with this as a trailer on a dry fly, what I've had the most success for is another caddis style behind it, a crackleback, or the yellow Sally that I tie. And what I like with that barb section of it is it just gives me confidence right now, as far as holding, again, when I go in and improve clinch knot and tie my trailer off of that, I like the barb there. This winter I've had to kind of readjust that a little bit, because I've had more hits during the winter off of this fly than any other fly. And so I've switched over several of mine are barbless now, because that's not what I want to do either, is get somebody impaled on the top fly and then be messing with fish that way. So anybody, any questions? Nothing?
Yeah, at one point, you picked up a silver tool to push the hair back.
Yeah, I'm not totally sold on it, Jim. This is what the tool is. And I'm not totally sold on as far as a deer hair stacker. I know you can go a lot of different directions on that. What I do like is it really does get over those larger shanks, and the larger eyes. Let me show you, because I've got other tools, and like our bodkin, which covers a lot of things, and I generally always use on my dry fly, but the bodkin won't get over the end. So that's the part where, again, if I'm trying to just cinch things in place, it has a little bit of a cushion on the green, and it has two sides on it. I wouldn't rush anybody out to go buy it, but I'm kind of getting the hang of it. The only thing is I can't use this to then put on my half hitch. So that's the only thing is purely here when I'm spinning hair, this can push it all the way back. And then it also has a smaller size for smaller size hooks. But I tend to use my bodkin on a smaller hook. I don't use that side. Meh. I'm kind of meh on the whole thing. You can also, again, take apart ballpoint pins. They work almost in the same process of that. I think, yeah, any ballpoint pen, you can just strip it out, and you'll be able to find the same thing, as far as being able to just, all we're trying to do is push it back so that you can see your hook eye again.
So that's one of those tools used to compress the deer hair when you.
Yep. Yeah, when you're spinning and you're trying to really make patterns, and what it does, and we've mentioned this before, is it's just trying to save you from that thing right there, right? So it keeps your hand way back. You can compress things in and then continue with your next color, and you can see what you're doing, because spinning deer hair works best if you can get as close to your hook shank as possible. If you have too much under here, your deer hair is not going to want to spin. Yeah. Stone foe. I don't know. Again, I think it was an impulse buy. I'll give it that credit. Anybody else? Anything?
Maybe I've got a stacker that is, I think I bought it at Feather Crab, but it's pretty good.
For your deer hair stacking?
Yes,
So deer hair stacking, the one thing I will say is, by far, my favorite is the Renzetti. Only because when I was starting out, and I've got a couple others. So here I have this one that's brass. It doesn't seem like it should make a lot of difference, but look at the mouth on either one of these. And I just got hooked on this one. There's a lot of them. There's like some square stackers you can, and you turn the little flip and all the hair magically is coming out. It's trial and error. There's a lot of different, look how small that channel is. So if I were trying to tie that fly that I just did, I'm going to spend half my time trying to get all of that deer hair to go in there. You need bigger and smaller. And that's one of the things too, is as far as it's got to be ergonomic for you. But there's some great ones out there. There's been a lot of progress in that part. Nothing. You guys are like crickets. John's still in shock because he's looking, going, "Are you trying to scare that fish or catch it?" So anybody else have anything other than
Yeah,
John's shock?
I've got to admit, it is a little bit large, but hey, it is what it is, and it might be a good bass fly. I don't know. Kind of tough to throw it with a tenkara, but it might work.
You might. So this is a little bit smaller on here, and just to give you kind of comparison, so you can downsize it. Obviously, the one I did tonight on this is very exaggerated. What I like with this larger size that I tied tonight, so if you are more comfortable doing and throwing 5X, that works. If you're trying to throw this off of a 7X, you're gonna, not want to fish long. You can downsize, so this could go on a 6 or a 7X, and then I could drop a 5X off of this, or 6 or 7X. You can downsize. This one is beat. This was not my tie. This was my tie, but this guy is beat so bad. This was my New Year's Day one, just to give you kind of an idea. It had, again, 4 takes on this, and it has the flat legs. It has a lot of different, but it kind of shows you again the same profile on there. But it was one where it was just like, oh my gosh. You look at it and you're like, you're so ugly, somebody has to love you. And
Looks
the
like a
other
New
thing
Year's
is,
Eve hangover, Amy, is what it looks like.
I guess that's what the new name is going to be. That's a new name. So here's another one. Again, another beat beyond recognition, right? And I'm just going to put this in my vise for a minute, because as we talk about the one I just did, that it resembles a lot of different things, right? And I mean, again, look at this, look at this poor guy. He held together though, so you got to give him that credit. But when we look at the one I just did, and in comparison to, all of a sudden you start seeing a pattern, right? You go from caddis stimulators, you've got these. This is a stimulator pattern, right? It has the whole tail, it has the underwing on there, it has the whole deer hair coming off, some hackle laid in there too. And on a stimulator pack, on that one, I added in legs, and I even lost legs on that one. So these get hit hard. If you don't lose them in a tree or something, or a log, but you shouldn't. But it mimics a lot of different things. That's why I like this pattern so much too, because if you can tie a caddis, you can tie this. If you can tie a stimulator, you can tie this. It allows you to have some creativity as to the different style patterns. And,
Amy, how do
and
they
again,
cast?
they cast great if you are using the right leader size. So again, if I put this on a 7X and I try to throw this out here, even if this is a, let's say we even downsize and we're more in, I don't know, kind of the 10, 12 range, which you could easily do. It's still going to cast great, but if you have a 7X on there, it's going to struggle a little bit unless you have a heavier dropper off of the back of it that will help continue to pull that line out straight. In what I've seen. The other thing is we talk about hopper dropper patterns. And I don't know if anybody's had that, but you know, dealing with winds any time of the year, and a hopper to me, where it picks up, like all of a sudden you look and you go, what happened? And you know, just from the lie going out, right? You know, you're like, man, something twisted somewhere. Foam for me is it's a catch-all, because you're second, and I'm talking primarily about a hopper dropper combination, but you cast out and you're like, something's wrong with that. And you pull it up and your second tippet has gone around your foam. On this one, it has very few points where you can catch. And that's one of the things where I've seen on the difference between natural material and maybe foam. I don't know. I could be biased on it. What the 2022 challenge is go tie it, try it. Then we can all compare notes at the end of the year and go, yeah, no, never mind. I'm going back to foam hoppers and see what it does for you. But it does give kind of a different option as opposed to using with the strike indicator. Yeah, just something else. It's a sight visual for me. On these gray, cloudy days, I have a hard time seeing just a single small fly. So you're on a 12, 14, 16. I need something to help, because I have a hard time picking it up in the water, and I prefer fishing faster water. So this one you can keep, it's buoyant, it keeps going down the rapids, and it does what it's supposed to do. Anybody else? That was a nerve-wracking one to tie, because I was sure that we were going to get a thread break. I'll tell you guys now that the thread I was tying on was actually Kevlar. So just to give you an idea, I was not doing a thread break tonight. But yeah, that was a little bit nerve-wracking only from the standpoint of it's not very traditional. It's not one of those flies where you look at and go, I've got to go tie this. As I went back and started looking up more of this information on, and I thought, well, how interesting is that? Because it seems to be, I'd be curious of what you guys think of trying to do this. Now, again, on the lake stuff that we are fishing right now, maybe not faster water at some of our trout parks, which are all catch and release right now. See what you think. And then we'll see if I can convert you. Just like John keeps hammering on you guys for tenkara, I'm going to hammer on you for big, huge dry flies.
Well,
we'll
I'll
see
tell you what, I'm about ready to release another YouTube video of what we did at Fort Robb. And I apologize ahead of time. I was on Carter Johnson Lake. The wind was blowing about 30 miles an hour. I had to leave the tenkara in the car and go to a 5-weight Western. So then, and that's what I'm highlighting this video about. Sometimes you just can't use your tool that you want to. You have to go to the second best. So. And
isn't that the truth? And then, you show up, and even if you were there the day before, even if you were there 3 hours before, and you stopped and you took lunch and you came back to it, it's never the same water. It's
Nope.
never the same fish. You've got to adapt.
That's right.
Because, and how many times have we been schooled in that, going, yeah, I just fished that yesterday. You put on the same exact fly, you go out there and you're like, an hour passes and a lot of casts pass, and an hour passes. And then finally you're like, well, why did I carry 1,000 flies with me? So yeah, change it up.
Yeah, in fact, I'm doing Mark Forster and I are doing a rod building class starting Wednesday in conjunction with Game and Parks. And I'm going to be building a rod, and guess what I'm building?
A tenkara.
No, a 3-weight
Oh, really?
Western. Yeah. I can't
Well,
find
there you go.
tenkara kits, so.
See, and I was starting to have people who were contacting me, John, because I was being too mean to you. So we'll just leave it at that then, won't we?
Hey, I got broad shoulders. I can take all kinds of nasty comments. I tell you, yeah, that's nothing,
So I've held a tenkara, and I've told you guys I've managed to figure out how you can actually strip the whole line out of it without even knowing you did that. It has a purpose. It all has a purpose. And I think that's the part too, is that as we learn more and we get more comfortable with this, like, maybe I'll try that one. Maybe I won't try that one. It's our passion. So it's all good. And it's a lot of fun. So
Speaking of
I've
passion,
shown you guys to the dark dungeon on the, Turk's Tarantula. Anybody have any requests? I thought I saw a request for soft hackle that came through on my email. Who wants to raise their hand and tie some soft hackle?
I'll do it if you let me do a Tenkara style.
We will let you do a Tenkara style.
The reason I ask is that Al Beatty has asked me to do some Tenkara flies on his Friday night class, so I need to do some practicing.
You can practice with us anytime, John. All right. So for next Monday, we'll do that, some Kabari flies. And so can you give kind of everybody a heads up on what materials maybe before I send out anything, but can you give them, what
Sure.
works best for that soft hackle?
Yeah, for the soft hackle, I'm going to be using either pheasant or partridge. You can use either. Actually, you can use just about any soft hackle fibers you want to. I've tied them with hen hackle, just about anything.
Okay. So maybe if you can give us kind of a rundown of the different feathers, how you choose those, because
Yeah.
I think a lot of it overlaps, right? Again, it's the more knowledge we get. One of the things I was messing around on New Year's Day, and I was like, the whole dabbing, and we all know that, right? And so I had 2 dry flies, and I thought, I'm just gonna see if this. So I had real high stick. Don't criticize, and no, I'm not calling anybody out on. So I was real high. Mine's 5/8. It was real high stick, and had again where they're hitting. It was 35 degrees, sleeting and raining, and they were still hitting on the top on that method. So I think what's really cool is, again, how with Tenkara, you can go to the bottom, you can nymph, you can do a lot of that dabbing, but it's really kind of old school as far as the techniques. So if you can bring some of that, that would be great as far as conversation as well.
Sure.
That would be great. Okay, so we're getting soft
Yeah, I
hackle
don't
done.
know, I
Go ahead,
don't know
Jim.
what kind of much time it takes to tie Tenkara flies, but if you want a standard soft hackle, I'll be more than happy to do that too.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Jim,
Perfect.
I'll do my Takayama Kabasa Sabari, which is which is nothing more than,
he just likes saying that. That's
It just kind of rolls
just
off.
showing off.
it just kind of rolls off the tongue, I'll do that, and then I'll turn it over to you, and then we can show the 2 different styles of soft hackle, because basically they're the same fly. I just tie it with the hackle facing forward, and the American style or the Eastern style, Western style is hackle back. So
That would be
Same
great. And I
techniques.
think with,
Yeah, that would be.
that would be perfect.
okay. And
Yep,
Amy,
that
are you
would
going to
be
be able to make our next Thursday meeting with the good?
The 20th.
Yeah.
Yep. I thought I was
Cool.
your tire for the 20th, or did you trade me in already?
No. Mike Kelly called up to their contacted me today and just wanted to confirm that he's not on the
Yep.
hook for tying.
For tying a jig hook. So you want
Yeah.
to tell them about your class? You want to tell them about your class on the 20th? So yeah, I'll be in Nebraska, or not physically, but on virtual. And John had a request for tying a jig hook, and we can do that. So I've got about 4 different examples I've been kind of laying out, John. So I'm
Super.
ready to go. But yeah, tell Mike he's off the hook for next Thursday, the 20th.
Great. Thank you, Amy.
Say,
And
John,
if you guys,
John, what's your YouTube site that go look at your videos?
It's real simple. Tenkara, Nebraska.
Okay.
And I just released the latest one, came out here about a week ago on, I was fishing the smallest creek I've ever fished in my life. It's called Monroe Creek. And you get to watch me fall on my butt.
And-
So,
And the web, the site for Mick, the watch our videos.
It is Fly Fishing with Mick.
Oh, okay.
and that one's a little bit tricky, isn't it, Mick? Because it
Yeah.
sits kind of underneath. It's only a title, Dave. You're not gonna see like a big, it's because we don't want the whole world on there. So he didn't hide it anywhere, but you actually have to look
You'll
underneath
see it.
the one that comes up.
Yeah, you'll look for a green circle with a white F in it.
Okay.
Thanks for the reminder. I need to put some of these on. I'm lacking a couple weeks.
Yeah, we
You
noticed that.
slacker. You
I am a
slacker.
slacker.
I
All
know we're
right,
getting
well-
towards the end of the session. I got something that has nothing to do with fly fishing, but I know how you guys all like various tools and stuff like that. So I've been flooring my living room with oak flooring. Of course, I had to take up a fair bit of it first. And I didn't want to just throw away all this oak stuff because it had a nail in it. So I bought this handy little denailing gun, and you actually stick that right over the nail. It's air powered. You pull the trigger and it just punches that nail right out of there.
What a great
Slicker and a
tool.
whistle.
So,
You
so how come you didn't just do?
You can see the
you
one
didn't
that's
just
gone,
do-
it leaves just a little indentation. And as fast as you can put that over a nail and pull the trigger, you got nails out of the
That's
wood.
sweet. Who makes those?
Oh,
Who
I
makes
just,
those?
a variety of people. This one's what, Air Locker, but you can get them on Amazon. It was like $50, but I did a whole pile of old flooring, in about 15 minutes. It would have taken about 15 days if I was trying to drive and pull
Yeah.
those flooring nails out of there by hand. So
What a
Tool
great- I bet
junkies,
with the price.
there's
with the
another
price
one to
of,
go for.
With the price of wood as
So-
it is today, that's
so
gonna
what-
pay for itself in about 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna run through my planer and stuff, and I'll have a whole bunch of small oak planks that I can put into something.
Hey,
Then you're
Roger,
gonna
I
build
got a
this-
great use for some of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
some fly tying desks and yeah, we got, so a whole bunch of ideas are going through. So does the only question, because you didn't do that live on camera, does it shoot it across the room or does it catch it somewhere?
I just
Like
put
when
it
you-
over like a trash can, put a bunch of lightweight, just insulation plastic or whatever in the bottom so when the nails came out, they had something soft to kind of absorb them instead of
Okay.
ricocheting back, at you. Because yeah, it flat punches them out of there.
That's what I was wondering. I'm like, okay, you didn't show us live, so that either would have gone through the next room when you just did that, or
No, I
Wanna
did
make
catch
sure
one
we're-
on my safety goggles. It hit about right there. But it did ricochet off of something. So
oh
still
man.
messing around. But if you want to take apart pallets or any other old wood that has nails, that thing's great.
Yeah, well, we'll go with that endorsement. I'm sure there's a few winter projects going on right now that we'll
I just
we'll
have to
catch up
figure out
with.
how to use it tying flies, right?
Well, so I had my sling pack that I've been wearing and I was kind of starting a collection on there. I didn't realize that I was. I'm gonna have to see if that thing works because I actually had to take a razor blade to my drying little patch to get all those hooks out. To the point where my daughter walked up and she looked at it and she goes, "Do you have a bird on there?" That's how many flies I had caught on there. Not caught, but I kept just sticking them on the patch on my sling pack. So I cleaned all that up, but I'm thinking that thing, Roger, if I would have been able to shoot that in there, that might have cleared out. I couldn't get 3 of them out of my sling pack. How bad is that? The whole lesson on barbless comes back then, doesn't it?
Yep.
All right, all. Well, I appreciate everybody's time this week. It sounds like we have a game plan for next week. I think we had a couple new faces on tonight. And so everybody's welcome. It always stays the same. If I forget to send out the link, you can pull up this week's email and or last week's email and just jump on. It's always the same call. And we'll be learning about soft tackle next week.
Nice.
Super.
Hey,
All
Mitch,
right.
Yep,
At all.
could you stay on for a second?
sure.
Thanks, Amy.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Nice to see you, Jim.
Thanks, Amy.
Everybody have a great weekend.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Everybody